Hey, welcome back to Ping Pong Flakes. My name is Chris Wong. As you know, I enjoyed Justice League, and so did my family. I tweeted this picture out. This is my son, oldest son, Grayson. He loved the film. He really enjoyed it, and that's because he doesn't know anything about behind the scenes. He doesn't know anything. He kind of remembers Man of Steel, remembers Batman v Superman. You know, the fun parts. You know, when you watch a film when you're a kid, you generally only know the fun parts, right? And so he enjoyed Justice League because it was awesome. It was epic. It was real great to see superheroes on screen duking it out and stuff like that. He was also very happy to see that Superman has finally come back back to life, and so he was really happy and stoked for that. And that's just the pureness, the innocence of that, and I wish I had that upon going into this. Of course, I've subjected myself to all this. I run this channel talking about all these things that happen within the studios and Hollywood and DC Extended Universe, all the different dramas that have happened, and I just want something great and fantastic to complete my collection. Justice League, for me, this movie, I enjoyed it, but because I had that comic film in me, so it's kind of like when you grab a comic book off a shelf and you wanted to read it. It really is this movie. It's kind of a standalone, not exactly this. It's kind of dark and grim in itself, but it's kind of like that, where you're in this other world. You pick up a book off the shelf and say, I want to read this Justice League story, and you pull it off and you open it up, and these characters don't seem to actually be the same as the characters in another book when you pull off the shelf. When I pull off something like I don't know, Superman Doomed, where this is totally different. This is part of that New 52, but it's a different version. This Superman's not a version of this Superman, so there's so much difference in that. So I can understand that. For me, it's easy to comprehend that mix-up. But as you know, this is a Zack Snyder film, and when you see that title, that Zack Snyder film, you're kind of expecting something, right? Because if you've been keeping up with his films, you've been keeping with Man of Steel, and you've been keeping up with Batman v Superman, okay, then you know Justice League is the third movie in this Superman-esque trilogy. My wife knew that. She went in with that mindset as she goes in, because she rarely watches these epic films. She likes lighthearted stuff, but she understands. She loves Man of Steel. She loves Batman v Superman. She likes that type of take. I love her for that. But when she went in here and she came out and she said it was weird. Like, that's not the Superman that I remembered from Man of Steel and Batman v Superman. That's definitely not the Batman that I've known from this movie. And the Wonder Woman in this movie doesn't seem as strong, as powerful as she was in Wonder Woman, or even in this one. So, and Superman seems too powerful in here. So she has her little negatives about the film. She enjoyed it. It's entertaining, but she has those gripes. And I understand. There are a ton of people out there with gripes. In fact, in this when Justice League came out, it felt like the DC fandom kind of split, you know? Where it used to be where, okay, the DC Extended Universe, we were one fandom. We just loved everything that came out. Then all of a sudden, Justice League came out, and we've noticed the tonal changes. We had the Joss Whedon thing coming in, and then it kind of split. The Snyderverse came out, and the people who enjoyed this were like, well, that's the kind of DC film I wanted, you know. And now I think this is a step in the right direction. And while these other the Snyderverse fans, they're like, well, no, they didn't get to complete that vision. So there is a petition going out. There is a petition going out, and I think, I don't know who started this, but there's a petition coming out called Zack Snyder's Director's Cut and Tom Hulkenberg's Junkie XL score for home release. So they want that Director's Cut, similar to what they did with the Ultimate Edition, except this was, I don't know if this was planned at all, extended cut. Are they going to do this? I'm not quite sure, because it depends on what Zack's vision was of Superman here. Is the one he filmed, the one that he put together before he left, before Joss Whedon came in to do the reshoots, was that the Superman he was planning to make? Was those characters, was the story going in a direction that was planning to make? We know. I mean, I'm not going to show you here, but you go through those first few trailers, there are scenes that are cut out. There are scenes that are really edited. You know the part where Jason Momoa says, "All right," you see in the background, it's a warehouse. It's not what you see in the movie, which is like Steppenwolf's lair, or whatever. It's totally different. They've cut out Iris West. They've cut out was it Willem Dafoe's character, Volko or something? And the beginning of the film, you can kind of see that there could be some places where they truncated a lot of that background information of Aquaman, background information of Cyborg, background information of the Flash even. So there is a definitive thing out there that there are scenes that are cut out. There are scenes that are cut out, and for the fandom who want to see this, and I support that, I let you know I did sign this thing because, I mean, you can't go wrong if you're paying $30. You can't go wrong with getting 30 more minutes of footage, right? Or how many more minutes of footage? An extended version, you know, it can't go wrong. That's value right there. Why not add more footage to be seen? But the thing is about this that's going to be different is that they set off on a tone. Joss Whedon, Jeff Johns, they set off on a tone of what this Superman is and whatever this movie has come about. And this is the part that came out. This is Justice League. This is what they wanted and envisioned to come out. Whether they had time to, which I don't think, they didn't have time to actually extend to what they really truly imagined, but at a time where it's $300 million already, you know, just get it out the door. Just get it out the door, be bygones and see how it does. So I don't know if they're going to do this cut. But if anything, wouldn't be curious, even for the people who loved Justice League, who liked Justice League, just myself, we're curious. Aren't you curious? Because I love Zack Snyder's work. And that beginning montage with everybody knows footage, that was total Zack Snyder. It was totally Zack Snyder all throughout, and towards the end it started to change it to something else. And you can totally tell when Zack Snyder's footage shows up and when Joss Whedon's reshoot shows up during the Superman scenes. The CGI mustache, that weird awkwardness look on his face, that's all Joss Whedon. The other parts, in fact, even the fight of Superman versus the Justice League members, that is Zack Snyder. You couldn't see the CGI mustache at all, and he looks way bigger. So in that alliance, you can see that towards the end of the film, where he's fighting Steppenwolf, maybe he wasn't fighting Steppenwolf. Maybe it occurred later, or before something else, or something else happened within this. We don't know. There's so many questions out there, and it just depends on the studio. If the studio wants to actually do that, if the studio actually wants to put in a narrative, maybe down the line that, yeah, okay, maybe a lot of people didn't like Justice League. Let's put out an extended Ultimate Edition. Let's grab whatever Zack Snyder's stuff is and see how it goes. Maybe people do like that home release. Maybe we'll have another situation with the Batman v Superman Ultimate Edition, even though most of the people who went to the theaters may not have picked this up at all and didn't care, and would have seen that it was way more better as an extended cut than what we had in theaters. But that all depends. Maybe Zack Snyder doesn't want to do it, you know, we won't know. But interesting news is that upon that petition, Eli Snyder actually liked this tweet. Named Justice League Director's Cut, Director Zack Snyder only, and date of release never. He actually liked this cut. Zack Snyder's own son liked it. And you start to wonder, what's going on? Is it true? Is that true? That maybe in a way, after Zack Snyder left, he took a leave, and instead of going through his wishes like how they told us, that they actually truncated his vision after just Joss Whedon came in, and Kevin Tsujihara put it in a 2-hour mandate to change that. The story is gonna be really apparent if they do decide to give that cut out. If they do decide to give that cut out, then they are admitting fault. So that'd be very interesting to see that. Now, it's only Eli Snyder. Sure, the son just liked a tweet, whatever. Zack Snyder himself liked Fukujang Fiona's Vero post petitioning the director's cut of Justice League. He liked it himself. He liked the signed petition. In a way, what is he trying to say? Remember that tweet he did before? I can't find it now. But he said that he was sorry that he couldn't complete his vision. He didn't get the chance to see this Justice League. You know, it's almost like he knows. He knows that they messed it up. And he knows that they messed up his vision. This is not exactly the movie that he wanted to put out. Whether good or bad, we won't know until we actually watch it. Aren't you curious? Aren't you curious? And I am. So whether you liked Justice League or not, you can have to be at least curious of what Zack Snyder's vision of was, because you can't say one's better than the other until you actually see both of them, right? So right now, I enjoyed Justice League, but I am darn curious to see what Zack Snyder's cut was, and to see an actual flow that actually completes the trilogy and not just haphazardly. I mean, I liked how Superman is portrayed, because the Superman portrayed is just like the comics. It's just like the comics. It's another medium that I enjoy. So, but I also want to see what he really intended. I really do. This is like when Superman 2 came out. Superman 2 came out. It was first made by Richard Donner. Then the studio did a whole bunch of hoopla, and Richard Lester came in and directed the rest. And he added all those weird comedic moments where history is happening again. Except I grew up watching. In fact, I grew up watching Superman 2. I grew up that and knowing that was the only one. That was the only piece. And when I grew up, I started watching over it, and there's something weird about how it changes here and there, and that's when I realized there is an actual Richard Donner cut. So there are moments in Donner cut and Lester cut that I both like, and if you add them together, they'll be a great complete piece. But that's the idea of here, that there is seeming like evidence that there is a cut out there that could be Zack Snyder, and what you saw in the theater was not exactly all the wishes that Zack Snyder wanted. It could be, and I'm not saying this for a fact, that it could be that Jeff Johns and John Berg had Joss Whedon come in and change what was originally a completion of the Zack Snyder Superman trilogy. I mean, I can't really comment on how long this movie is supposed to be. Okay, there's rumors that saying it's 2 hours and 45 minutes. There was a 3-hour movie. It's all really hearsay. I mean, it's speculative. It sounds like it could be, because he does make giant blockbuster movie films, and if the film did seem truncated at the beginning, and it did seem lackluster towards the end. It didn't feel like an epic moment. In fact, to say that Man of Steel and Batman v Superman and even Wonder Woman was way more epic in the battle at the end than what you saw in Justice League. Justice League was a fun adventure. Interaction between characters is something that you see in the comics all the time. That's great and that's awesome, but you have to admit that movie wasn't solely a Zack Snyder film, and you know that. Even if you knew that Joss Whedon came in for reshoots, they did say that he was supposed to reshoots through Zack Snyder's wishes. Well, if that's the case, it didn't work as planned. It didn't seem like, it didn't even feel like a total Zack Snyder film. So I don't know. I'm not sure we're going to get that extended cut, but I am very curious and I'm very anxious to see it. I would love to have an extended cut version, something along the lines. Like I said before, it'd be great. I mean, if they want to keep that Whedon version, sure. Get us a whole Blu-ray disc, one that says Zack Snyder's cut, Whedon cut, theatrical cut. I'd be all happy with that. That would be totally awesome. What do you guys think about a potential Zack Snyder's director's cut? Do you want it? Do you care about it? Or do you love Justice League right now as how it is? Or do you want more? Thank you so much for subscribing. Thank you so much for watching. I'll see you next time.